After this tutorial, you'll be able to have an inventory like this. You can drag and drop items from A to B, and when you drag and drop items from one item to another, then they'll jump back, or when you drop them outside of the inventory, they'll also jump back to the old location. If you like tutorials like this, just leave a like, and if you want to see more like this, just subscribe to the channel and let's go. We start by creating item data as a resource file, all the data from every item which we create in this game. So inherit is from resource, and we also call this one item data. First thing what we need to do is we give it a class name, which is item data. I always like to keep this class name and the name of the file the same, so it's easier to find it later on in the game. And we need three variables which stores the item name, the string, and also the item texture as a texture to be, and also item amount, which is an int, and we also set it 1 by default, so we don't need to set it whenever we create a new item. The next thing what we want to do is we create the items. I want to create iron bar, iron pickaxe, and wood stick. So we click on this plus up here, we search for item data, and then here we can see here this resource item data is already existing. You click double click here and you give your first item a name. I will take iron bar and I will just drag and drop this PNG as texture, and we save this in folder, in our resource folder which we just created, iron bar, and this we will do with all items. Do it with as much items you want, but I will do it with just 3. So we'll create another one, iron pickaxe, save iron pickaxe, and the last one, wooden stick, wood stick texture, save. So we have this 3 slot data or item data, and the next thing is what we want to save is an inventory also as a resource. So we also say file, new script, also inherits from resource. This one will be inventory data. This inventory data will also has a class name which is similar to item data, just inventory data. And here we have an array which stores item data. So export variable item data as an array, and we can predefine which kind of data we want to have in this array, and we just say item data. As you can see here in the drop down, your item data should appear here when you set up this script, right? So we save this, and we also create our first inventory. We do it by inventory data create, and then you can see here on the right side we have item data as an array, and we resize this by 27 in my case. You can resize it to whatever size you need for your inventory, and you will just, for testing later, we'll just put a few items with drag and drop them to the inventory. Then we save this. I'll save it as test inventory, and that's it with resources. The next thing is what I like to do is to always have global script which stores all the signals you will have in one project. So we add a new script where we store all the signals, which we do by new file, and we inherit from node, and we say global signals. We just copy this name, say project settings, we go to globals, we'll choose this one, and we say add. Then you can see here we have global signals as an auto load, which means this will be loaded whenever the player is starting the game. This script will be loaded as well. So the next thing what we want to do is we'll start to create the scene. So we need a 2D scene which will be in user interface. One will be control node, and we add the following children. I have this layout. You can do whatever layout you want, but some name of nodes are important to keep the functionality of this inventory work. So we start with a panel container which will just define the layout. This one will set to center, so in the middle. The child panel container. This panel container will has also a child which will be a margin container, and this margin container will have a VBox container as a child, and this VBox container has a label and also a grid container. So now we need to do a few settings that this will not just appear here in the left upper corner. So we go to the panel container and we say shrink to the middle, which we do up here, anchor preset middle. Then we go to the margin container, say seam overrides constants, and we just add 10 to each margin, so we have a proper border around the slots later. And in label we'll just write inventory. It's not necessary to have this label, but I like to state at the upper corner that here's the inventory. So this one is the inventory window. We rename a few nodes. This one we'll call inventory window. This one I'll call inventory. And this grid container, this is important, we will call slot group. And we'll right click slot group and say access as unique name. This is important for have access to this group later in the script. And we will create a slot scene for this slot group. So new scene, we'll choose other node, and here we say texture rect. This texture rect has another texture rect inside and also a label. So for this texture rect, which will be the background of the slot, we will set, I have a square for this prepared. You can choose whatever graphic you want. I have this one, and in the label for testing we'll just write the number 1, and we will say it will stretch to the full rect, and also horizontal alignment right and vertical alignment bottom, so it will be on the right bottom side. And this texture rect, we will say it will shrink to the middle, so this will act like the display for the items. So this one is item texture, and this one is item amount label. Right click them and say access as unique name. So both has this % sign here, and it will also be easier to have access to them in the script which we'll write now. I'll just quickly slot and save this scene right here and attach a script to it and also call it slot, and we'll write the following code. I always like to add, for example, slot data to this slot, and then from the slot data I'll take all the data in the ready and set the slot. So we will have one variable which is the item data, which I'll call current item as item data. Then we have ready, and in ready we'll say simply set item slot, and we also say set, we'll create a method which set item slot, and we just need to set the item texture and the item amount label. But what if a slot is empty? We'll just simply check beforehand if current item is existing or not, and if it's not existing we'll just return back and do nothing. So we say if not current item, we'll just return, and this function will just stop working here and will not do anything. What is behind this return? And firstly we'll set the texture of item texture dot texture equals current item dot item texture, and also item amount label dot text equals current item dot item amount. And that's actually it for the script in the slot. So we'll go back to our inventory, and here we have to create way a bigger script, but it will handle almost the whole functionality of this inventory. So let's start with 2 variables and 8 methods to write in the script. We'll go to inventory window, we'll also attach a script. So the 2 variables we need is export variable. This will be the inventory data, and then we have another variable which will be the current drag item data as a dictionary. This I'll explain later, and we will have the process function and the ready function. Both are built in, so you will just write func underscore, and then you will also find it here when you say process, and then you already have it here. And what we wanna do is we will check if a node, which is in our case an item drag, which will always appear when the player is clicking a slot which is not empty. So I'll say if not as node item drag return. So it will actually not do anything when in this tree will not be a node which has a direct child, has not a node which is named item drag, so it will just don't do anything. Otherwise, when it has, we'll just say get node, because it's existing. We can say get node item drag dot position equals get global mouse position, get node item drag dot size divided by 2, so it will be exactly on the same spot like our mouse. The node item drag is not existing yet. This we will create later with our click on the item slot. So the next what we want to call is the ready function. We'll call update inventory data and also connect signals. So we'll start with connect signals, and in connect signals we will call a global signal dot connect update inventory with update inventory data. So we will not have any error except this one, because this update inventory is not existing yet. We'll go to our global signals. Here we write signal and name it exactly update inventory, and that's actually it. We'll go back and the error will disappear. It's global signals.connect. Now we start with update inventory data, which will be an update of the slot group and also of, first we'll delete all the slot group members, and then we'll put the new ones up to the slots in the inventory data. So we say for slot in percent slot group dot get children slot dot q3, and then we say for item data in inventory data dot item data, we'll create a new variable which will be a new slot equals, and we'll take the slot scene we just created from here and control click it, and then it will preload it, and we say instantiate, and we say new slot dot current item equals item data, and then we say percent slot group dot get children slot group dot add file new slot. We still have to go to the inventory node, then we go to inventory data, and here we just put the test inventory we just created. Here we go, this one to here, and then we have an inventory which looks not too good yet because we didn't set the layout. So we go to slot group and say we will have 9 columns, and when we start it again, it will look like an inventory, but we can't click anything yet. For the inventory background, I also prepared look like, so we just go to inventory, theme overrides, styles panel, and here I say new style box texture, and here I put this inventory panel inside, and I say texture margins 4, 4, 4, 4, because the outline at the border I have is 3 pixels, and for the label I'll just say theme overrides, colors, font color I'll set to black, and when I start it again it should look properly. And we have an inventory, but we cannot click anything, and this is what we'll do. Now we'll take care the input of this inventory that you can drag and drop items, and this we'll write in the inventory window script. For that we need a method which is the inbuilt input method, this one. And first of all we will check the which event is pressed. In our case we need mouse left is action pressed mouse left, and as mouse left is not existing yet, we need to add it to our project settings. We go to project settings, input map, add new action mouse left add, and we'll click on it plus, and we say click one time with the mouse left button, okay, until here it says left mouse button, and okay, close. And now we have the mouse left button, and we can check whenever the player is pressing it. We will add a variable, this is hovered node get viewport dot GUI get hovered control. This variable will store the control node which we just hover. So when we inside the game we hover one of these slots, now it will get the slot node, so for example the third slot node here or the fourth, fifth, and will check it with the next if statement. If hovered node is slot. This will not work yet because we don't have the class slot yet. So we go to our slots GD. We say class name slot. And we save it, and we go back to here, and this error is disappear, and we will add a new variable which will be the current index, and the current index will be always dot get index, and this will be the index from this slot we just clicked with the left click, and that we always only do something and drag something when the slot has items. We say if not inventory data dot item data, then here we will say current index, then we will return. That means we'll check this array, our inventory, if on this index which we just got from the slot is an item, and if this is not the case we'll just return. Otherwise we will keep working on this method, and we say create drag item, and we say current index. This will give us an error because we didn't create this method yet, but this will create soon. We say now inventory data dot item data current index equals node, and global signals dot update inventory dot image. So this one will create a drag version of the item. This will be in our case a texture rect, which we'll write soon, and this inventory data which will be on this position from the current index we'll just set to null, and in the last thing it's a global signal we'll just emit and tell the inventory that this inventory just got updated by a left click. So that we don't have this error anymore, we'll just write this func create drag item, and we expect an index, so we say index as an int. This will lead to void like this, and here we just need to say current we'll just set the current dragged item first. Current dragged item data equals, and this one is dictionary. And we say string item. Here value is inventory data dot item data, and then the brackets and index. And the next key in the dictionary will be the index itself. So we say index is, we should not predefine it. So we say current dragged item data equals item as a string, inventory data dot item data index, current slot, the item, and the index from the current slot we just clicked before. The next thing what we need to do is variable new drag item is a texture rect, which we'll just create. We say equals texture rect dot new. Create a new texture rect, and we say new drag item dot texture equals inventory data dot item data index dot item texture. So we set the texture of this texture rect, which will stay at our mouse. Then we say new drag item dot mouse filter. This is really important to write this because as our texture rect is also a control node, we want that this control node is not able to get mouse inputs. So that's why we set this mouse filter to control dot mouse filter ignore. So whenever a drag, drop, click or whatever will happen to this control node, it will just ignore this input and just give it to the next control node. And important that our process function, this one has node item drag will work. We will just need to set the name item dot name equals, and we'll say item drag. And to spawn or add this node, we say add child and say new drag item. So when we click with the left mouse click on a slot with an item, we should have, okay, the important thing is that we need to go to slot and say filter stop. And when we start it and we click on one slot like this one, we have this slot dragged in our mouse that we want to drop it also in another slot, and this we will do now. So we go back to inventory window. We will create a new if statement here, which will be if event dot is action released, and also mouse left. And here we say, here we create three variables. So the first one is hovered node, same like we have up at the action pressed, get viewport dot GUI get hovered control. Then the next variable is item equals current dragged item dot get item, and the next is variable item equals current dragged item dot, and the next variable is index equals current dragged item dot get index. So now we need to, before we do something, we have three if statements. First of all, we will check if there's already if we have a dragged item. So if we have a dragged item, we want to delete it now because we clicked in slot, and the slot will appear in the slot we just clicked. So we say if has node item drag delete item delete drag item this, and we create a new function which is delete dragged item, and here we just say simply get node item drag dot q3. We just delete it when we let the mouse button, when we release the mouse button. So the next if statement checks if the mouse is hovering a slot in the moment it's just release the item. So we say if not hovered node is slot, we say inventory data dot item data index equals item global signals dot update inventory dot emit and return. What does this function do? We just do that when we drop this item on a place where there's no slot. When we do this here now, it will just jumps back to the slot where it comes from. And the next if statement will do a similar thing, but it will just jumps back when we just try to drop the item on another slot which is already filled with another item. So we say if inventory data dot item data hovered node dot get index equals dot get index. If there's an item, then we say exactly the same like we say here. We will just send it back to the position where it comes from. So when we're testing this now, we try to put it here where another item is already there, and it just jumps back to the position where it comes from. And now we just want to add the function when the player is trying to just drop the item on an empty slot, then this item will just jump to the empty slot. So we say inventory data dot item data hovered node dot get index equals item. Then we say global signals dot update inventory dot emit. If we did everything alright, then everything should work. We can automatically create an inventory which will just display all the items we have in our inventory data. Then we are able to just drag items, drop them, and when we drop them on another item, then it will just jump back there where it comes from. And when we just drop it outside of the inventory, same thing. But when we drop it on an empty slot, it will just appear on this area. Okay, actually there was a bug which will cause that when we already drag and drop an item and click another slot, then there will be another item appear. This we can simply fix by set current dragged item data back to null whenever we set a slot, and that should already fix it. We'll put another if statement, if current dragged item data. If not, then we'll also just return, and this will just put in the beginning of the mouse release. Current dragged item data dot clear. Dictionary we say clear, so we make it an empty dictionary. So we just do this, and when we click now add other spots, then it will be fixed. I hope this tutorial helped you. If you still have questions, just leave a comment, and if you like this tutorial, just leave a like. It will help me a lot. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, then just leave a subscription. It will help me also a lot. And the next tutorial will be about how to create a crafting system